Welcome and good afternoon or good evening to all of you that have joined us for this webinar. So this is an information session about UCL Medical School and about our Medicine MBBS Degree Programme. My name's Sarah Bennett. I am the admissions tutor for the Medicine Programme and Deputy Programme Lead for the early years of the course. I myself was a UCL graduate, and so I have been at UCL a long time, although I did go away for a little bit to go and do some doctor work. But it's a pleasure to be here and to be able to talk to you about the medicine programme. I'm joined by a couple of my colleagues, Professor Faye Gisham, who is the director of the medical school and head of the MBBS programme, and also Dr. Arun Lal, who is the deputy head of the programme for the later years of the course. And we've also got a couple of fantastic students, so we couldn't do this without them. So I'd introduce to you Umaima, who is a second-year medical student, and also Bart, who is a fourth-year medical student, so joining us from his clinical placements today. And we're very grateful that they're here, and they will be answering your questions in the background and at our Q&A. So we will start off with a brief Mentimeter question and answer session, followed by a presentation just to outline the course itself and the entry requirements. So hopefully I can answer most of your entry requirements questions during that presentation. But if you would like to ask some questions whilst I'm going along, please do so. So if you click on the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, you can type in your question there. And so while we're talking, my colleagues behind the scenes will hopefully be answering all of your questions there. So thank you very much for those. So I'm going to start off finding out a little bit more about you and about where you are. So if you can join us at Mentimeter, so go to www.menti.com, use the code 39619641. Okay, so you can do that on your phone, you can do that on your computer screen, on another window. And I'm going to ask you the first question. So where are you joining us from today? So we did another session this morning and we had people from all over the world, which was fantastic. But let us know. Wow, Hong Kong, my goodness. So it's probably nighttime with you. So well done. Thank you for staying up. Thank you for staying up in India as well. So we've got some people in and around London and Essex and the South East. Fantastic. Leicester, the Netherlands. Wow. Wales, super, Birmingham, Newcastle, Hertfordshire, Kuwait, lovely, Oxford, Wantage, Cheltenham, Mauritius, beautiful, Derby, Slough, I know Slough well, I come from Slough. Essex, Northwest London, Loughborough, wow. So we're Italy, we're very international this afternoon. That is amazing. Well, welcome to you all. And I'm so pleased that you wanted to join this webinar today. Saudi Arabia, wow, brilliant. Thank you ever so much for that. So next slide that I'd like to know about is, what year are you in? So where are you in this big journey that it is to getting into medical school? So you may well be at the start of it. You might be in year 10, year 11, year 12, or even earlier than that. And you're thinking about, might this be what I want to do? And that's brilliant. You're getting the information early on. You might be in year 13 and ready, poised to hit send on your UCAS application. And that is also brilliant, that maybe this is the decision part of it, that you really want to know whether UCL is for you. Gap year, brilliant. Gap years are a great thing. We absolutely don't penalise people. It's no disadvantage to have a gap year. We get plenty of students who apply to us after they've sat their A-levels and when they've had some time to think about their choices and their journey in life. And it can be quite useful sometimes in giving you experiences for your application and for your interview. And those doing a degree or having graduated from a degree, wonderful. We do have graduates who apply to our programme, and you would do our 5 years of the MBBS because you wouldn't have to do the BSc that we have in year 3. Amazing. So most of year 12 and 13, I'm super impressed. That's brilliant. So here's a question. When did UCL start training doctors? I'll wait for a few answers to come in. This might be a little bit more difficult, or you're furiously typing into Google about UCL now. I will say that all those dates are highly relevant in our history. Okay, so those of you that have put 1746, that is an auspicious date because that's when the Middlesex Hospital Medical School started training doctors. So that was not UCL, that was the Middlesex Hospital. 1826, well done to those of you that have got that one, but that was when UCL opened. And that UCL as a university opened. And it wasn't actually until 1834 that UCL Hospital was built, and that there was now a hospital for university students to train in and to become doctors. So 1834 is the correct answer. 1984 is also an important date because that's when the Middlesex Hospital, that was opened in 1746, merged with UCL Medical School. And 1998 is when the Royal Free Hospital Medical School emerged with UCL Medical School. So we are an amalgamation of those 3 main medical schools to create our large UCL Medical School. Thank you very much for that. So we will now move on to some slides. And I will hand over to Professor Fagishan to begin with that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Bennett. I think our over 200 attendees will be able to see you and not me. So, but you can listen to my voice, everyone, and I will see you shortly in the Q&A. So welcome to our information session. It's very exciting to think that some of you, many of you perhaps, who are present in this session will actually come to UCL Medical School and be UCL doctors. So that's something really exciting for us. We absolutely love our students and we're very proud of the doctors that we turn out. So why come to UCL and UCL Medical School? Well, you can see on the picture here, some of you will be Londoners. We saw that on the Menti that you just did. Some of you might know London relatively well, but it's just to reiterate, UCL really is in the absolute heart of what I think is one of the best cities in the world. Very cosmopolitan, very exciting, very fast-moving city. You can see some of the landmarks there, some of the hospitals that our students go to. So University College Hospital is there, Great Ormond Street's in the picture. We're right near St Pancras and King's Cross Station, Houses of Parliament at the back there. So we really are brilliantly centred in a brilliant city. So that's the first reason to think about UCL. Next slide, please. So sort of from a university point of view, UCL came 6th for medicine in the QS World Rankings 2023. So it is a pretty standout course. UCL itself as a university has produced many Nobel laureates in the past. It's a huge university. It's got thousands of students, both undergraduate and postgraduate. So it's a bit more than half undergraduate. But almost half postgraduate. So those are students doing courses like masters and doctorates. It's got lots of staff and it's highly ranked in the UK for research power. So it's a very research active institution. We're very proud of our research at UCL and we have an incredibly active student body. And you may have seen, I think on the next slide, that we have just won University of the Year. So this is good news. There are lots of metrics. There are lots of brilliant universities in the UK, but you'll also maybe seen that we've recently, just last week, launched our UCL East campus in Stratford in East London, which is really fabulous, actually. It's not where medicine and the medics are based, but it's another fantastic campus as part of UCL. So you can see there the picture of Portico, which is the famous building and the famous silhouette there, facade of UCL, very often recognized, very recognizable as UCL. Next slide, please. So why do I say that we're proud of the doctors that we produce? Well, this is our sort of strap line for the UCL doctor, and it really encapsulates the sort of clinician that we're looking to produce. So we think that we create a highly capable and patient-centered clinician. That's incredibly important, equipped to practice medicine in a professional, inclusive and sustainable way, grounded in science and best practice. That's what I alluded to before. The course at UCL is very science heavy, particularly in the first 2 years, and it really reflects the fact that UCL is a very academic and rigorous institution, but we really turn out what we consider to be compassionate and kind doctors, and as I said, we're very, very proud of them. Next slide, please. So Dr. Bennett and I will always say, and Dr. Lal, who's on the call as well, that every medical school in the UK turns out excellent doctors. All medical schools are really good, but what do we think is unique about UCL? So, as I've said, we've got this fantastic central London location, and I can't stress enough how exciting it is to be based where we are. We have a fairly unique course structure, and we're going to go through that shortly, and I'll explain to you what happens in each of the years of the course. You'll see and you'll hear from our students that we have a wide range of integrated BScs that our students, except if they're already graduates on the course, will take in the 3rd year. And we have this fairly unusual, there are a couple of other medical schools who run MB-PhD programs, but there are a few students in each year who will come out of UCL after 9 or 10 years with a BSc, an MBBS and a PhD. So really incredible. As I said, it's a multi-faculty institution, so there are some medical schools that sit in healthcare institutions. We have everything at UCL. So if you're in halls in the first year, you might be with geography students, arts and humanities students, psychology students. Really, every sort of course is taught here. So there's a very diverse mix of courses on offer. I've already said we have a strong research reputation. And actually, I think the thing that makes us the greatest is our student body. And we have a student association called RUMS. The acronym's up there and what it stands for. And there's the crest on the right-hand side. And the students are really, really good at looking out and looking after each other. And we will talk a bit more later. And our students will let you know about all the different societies that are available at UCL. Next slide, please. So I said we'd talk a little bit about the course structure. You may know from having looked at the UCL website and also spoken perhaps to some of our students, is that we run a 6-year programme. The first 2 years are Foundations of Clinical Sciences. So these are quite lecture-heavy years, although there's lots of other forms of teaching that happen, but they're quite science-orientated, giving you a really good basis when you hit the clinical years in year 4. There is some early patient contact, and you will be meeting patients in the early years, those of you who come to UCL, but it is predominantly science focus in the early 2 years. In the 3rd year of the programme, this is the integrated BSc programme, and you can see in the box on the left that there is a huge range of both science and clinical IBSCs that we offer, anything from maths, computers and medicine to primary care, to paediatrics, to women's health. So you can ask our students about those. Then you progress onto the clinical years 4, 5 and 6. And you can see there on this picture that comes from our MBBS curriculum map, which is an electronic syllabus that we've devised for our students, that you will learn all these different clinical specialties. I mean, isn't that an amazing thought? You almost learn another language when you're a medical student, and look at all the things that you will be getting an insight into and meeting patients in. It's really quite incredible, the mix of different clinical specialties. And then we're very proud that underpinning our whole curriculum are these 16 modules which make up clinical and professional practice. So these are things that run all the way spirally throughout our curriculum. So we build on things and concepts like mental health, ethics and law. So in other words, you won't find them in a single year, but throughout all the years of the course. So things like use of medicines, doctor as data scientists, so how to understand and read papers and synthesize data. So that's sort of an overview of our course structure at UCL. So what's our teaching and assessment like? So as I said, the first couple of years have quite a lot of lecture content, so you'll be together as a year group, which is pretty fun. There's also tutorial-based teaching where you'll be in small groups with a tutor. We do expect our students to do some self-paced learning, so that's learning either inside or outside of the timetable to supplement what we've taught you. There's some clinical and community-based learning in the early years, so students really enjoy meeting patients, and sometimes those patients will come onto campus to meet with you. We have a really strong onus in our curriculum on clinical and practical skills, and a fantastic body of tutors who are really beloved by the students who teach clinical skills, and you come out being able to do all sorts of things, from taking blood. Bart was learning today how to insert a cannula, and all sorts of clinical skills you'll be learning. So that students really love that aspect, and learning how to examine patients. We're very, very lucky at UCL in that we have really the privilege of allowing our students to undertake full body dissection. So these are patients who have left their bodies to science for people to learn on. And it really is an absolute privilege to be able to do cadaveric dissection. We're very, very lucky to be able to offer that. And years 4 to 6, as I said, are in the clinical environment. So that could be primary care, general practice, or hospital. So medical students and those aspiring to be medical students often ask us about assessment. This is quite a hot topic. So what we have at UCL Medical School, similar to lots of other medical schools, is we have both formative and summative assessments. So summative assessments are assessments you may know that you need to pass to progress. Formative assessments are mocks or practice assessments that are just there to help you learn and to help guide you. Our exams take the form of 2 different sorts of assessment. We have an applied knowledge test. That's a written paper that consists of single best answers, which are a bit like multiple choice questions. And then we have clinical and professional skills assessments, which are practical exams where you examine patients in the later years, or you might be asked to demonstrate a clinical skill, or one of the CPP modules that I told you about. So, for example, an ethics station. So that's just a quick run through, and I'm going to hand over to Dr. Bennett now.
Super. Thank you very much, Professor Gishin. So coming to university, coming to medical school is a really exciting time. I remember my first days coming to university really well. I came from outside of London, a little village, into a big city. And whilst it was exciting, it is also comes with some apprehension and some trepidation. But now you're on your own, you're looking after yourself. And things can happen. Life can happen. Some students have physical and mental health problems that occur before or during medical school. And that's okay. That doesn't stop you being a medical student in any way whatsoever. But we're here to support you. What we would like you to do is to think about coming and talking to us and telling us more about how you're feeling, but also how we can help you. When you come to university, we want you to thrive. We want you to succeed, and we will try our best to help support you do that. And as you can see on that slide there are lots of different ways in which we do that. We will have a personal tutor allocated to you. Your transition mentor is one of our medical students in the later years who will mentor you in the first term of year 1 and are there to help give you some of those tips and tricks that they've learned through the programme. Student advisors, so they are members of staff who are there to give you a phone call or perhaps email you, or for you to come and see and just have a chat through how you're doing. We have our own course advisors, so we have our MBBS tutors who can advise you about interruptions of study or extenuating circumstances or things that might affect your progression on the course. And we do have RUMS. RUMS is there for each other. It's a fantastic family. It's peer-to-peer support. Medics for Medics and RUMS Welfare put on lots of activities for students as well to try and help support well-being, and that's such an important thing these days. You can see the bunny rabbit there with Iram, and we sometimes have pet therapy on campus, which is great fun. But UCL has its own student support and wellbeing services available to everybody, which includes counselling and psychological services, should students need that whilst they're here. But we also have careers advice, we also have financial advice. I mean, obviously going into medical school, you've got your career ahead of you, pretty much sorted out, but you might want to think about what specialty. You might want to have a portfolio career where you're doing lots of different things. And so there might be other routes that you wish to take, because the journey through medical school and through medicine can be often very tortuous or different, or have little branches off doing other things. And that is the brilliance of being a doctor. So the application process. So I hope that we've convinced you that UCL is now the place to come and study medicine, which we obviously believe it is. But there are some things that you need to do to prepare. So those of you that are in year 12 and below, you're at this preparation stage. You're thinking about, is this what I really want to do? Perhaps getting some work experience to try and get a bit of an idea of what it's like to care for other people. Remember that work experience doesn't have to be in clinical practice or shadowing a doctor. Work experience is there to give you the skills and the behaviours, and to think about you as a person. And what we ask of you is that you reflect on your experiences, on what you have developed as a person, and that you'll then talk about at interview perhaps as well. So it is giving you some information, but it's also helping you to make that decision whether this is the right track for you. So I'll talk a little bit more about some of the online resources that are available for that too, which are equally as good as being in practice. You do need to have the right GCSEs of English and maths at grade 6, and I'll come to this, and to be studying biology and chemistry at A level. And to develop that wider reading, think about the skills that you're already developing at school, which you all are. I'm sure many of you are prefects, or you're in societies, or you do sports activities, or you do things outside of school as well. Think about what those activities are giving you as an individual, what skills you're developing that are transferable to a medical profession working within the healthcare system. The application is by the 15th of October, usually. This year, because that falls on a Sunday, it's the 16th of October. So just be aware of that. And you would need this year to do the biomedical admissions test. Now, I could see at the beginning there were loads of questions about, well, what are you doing next? Because, as you may well be aware, BMAT is being withdrawn from next year. So it will no longer be happening. And that means that we will be moving to using UCAT scores instead. Okay, I'm afraid I can't tell you what the UCAT cutoff might be, because it will be the first time that we are using it. And so we will have to see the scores of those applicants that come to us. We only ever get the scores from BMAT, from those students that actually apply to us. And so obviously that will be a skewed group of people. The next stage of the process is the interview and an offer. We do multiple mini interviews, and we offer A-star AA at A level with the A-star in biology or chemistry, and 39 points at IB, where you need to get a 7 or a 6 in biology and chemistry. So the entry requirements. So we do have a lot of applicants, and every medical school is very oversubscribed. The government caps the numbers of places that we have, and that is, it is important because we need to make sure that we have enough clinical placements for students to be able to learn how to be a doctor. And also we need to make sure that the public, the general public paying their taxes, are paying for those placements as well. And so that is part of the reason why the numbers are capped. So we have over 3,500 applications for just 334 places. We only have 24 places that are reserved for international students. And that is, again, a very strict number. It's 7.5% of our cohort, like every other medical school. And we get in excess of 1,000 applications from international students. So somewhere between 30 to 40 applications per place. We tend to interview between 800 and 1,000 applicants. Now, I do point out here that a lot of the 3,500 applicants will be really eligible to apply to us, and will probably make fantastic doctors, but unfortunately we can't interview all of you, and not all of you can gain a place. And so please do be aware of our entry requirements. Make sure that you do meet those, and think about what is going to get you an interview, which is your BMAT this year and UCAT next year and onwards. So the minimum academic requirements are listed there. GCSE grade 6 in maths and English. You do have to be studying biology and chemistry at A level and be predicted an A star and 2 A's. The third subject that you sit does not matter. It can be anything except critical thinking or general studies. So you can do history, geography, maths, physics, psychology, music, drama, art, anything. It doesn't matter. And so do a third A level that you are interested in. IB is the same, so you've got those 2 higher level subjects, but what you do for your third higher level is entirely up to you. You will not be disadvantaged if you do not do maths. So I know that that's often a question as well. We do have a contextual offer scheme, so Access UCL. You can have a look at our website to see whether you're eligible for that. We look for specific things like perhaps you have been a care leaver, you care for other people, you might be estranged from your family, you might be a refugee, you may well be coming from a postcode area where there is a lack of people who go to higher education, or where there are levels of financial or social deprivation. And those students we recognise are doing very well in the circumstances that they're in, and therefore you will be made a lower offer and you will get into UCL and be predicted AAB. So some key points. So hopefully this will address some of the questions that we get through the chat at this stage. So we only look at GCSE maths and English. We do not look at any other GCSE. We don't look at how many you have or how many 9s that you have. That makes no difference. You are not disadvantaged if you've only done 6 GCSEs or if you've done 14 GCSEs, there's no advantage. You can resit English language or maths alongside your A levels, but you must make that known on your UCAS application so that we know that you're predicted to achieve a 6, and that will be part of your offer. You must sit A levels over 2 years. And we don't accept A-level resits. We do not require you to sit an EPQ. Now, we know that EPQs are great. They're giving you some really good background into self-study, into research, to writing up information. And so it is giving you skills, but there are also other ways to do that. And we also know that not every school offers students this opportunity. So it is not part of the offer. We don't use personal statements as part of our selection procedure. We really do think that writing your personal statement is really important. It succinctly puts down on paper what are your reasons and motivations for studying medicine, and what have you done to prepare for your application. And we may well, and other medical schools may well, use that personal statement as one of your interview stations. So it is important to do it. We only use BMAT scores to get you to interview. So if you meet our minimum entry requirements, what we will then do is look that you meet 2.5B in section 3, the essay section, and then we add up section 1 and section 2 and rank top to bottom. We do separate out those students who are international, because obviously we have a set number of places for international students, and we'll rank separately. And likewise, we'll rank separately our Access UCL students. And we do tend to interview students with a lower BMAT score if they are Access UCL eligible. But we don't have a specific number of Access UCL places. Our offers will always be for 3 A levels, no more. So if you are studying 4 or 5 A levels, that does not confer an advantage. And so please just make sure that you are going to achieve the grades in 3 A levels. That's what's important. So BMAT, as I mentioned, it is the last time this year that we'll be using it. The test is on the 18th of October, so get your skates on and apply if you haven't done so, if you're in year 13. The average scores are available on our admissions website. Now, they are only an indication. As I mentioned earlier, we only get the scores for the students who apply to us. Obviously, there are thousands of other students who are also sitting BMAT and applying to other medical schools. And so we have a different cohort of students every year, and we also interview a different number of students. During the pandemic, we interviewed fewer students actually to make offers. And so that means that the BMAT scores that came to interview were probably a bit higher than now when we're interviewing a few more. And again, this year we might interview a few more students, and therefore you might get an interview at a lower BMAT score. So we can't give you a number that will get you an interview. My advice about BMAT is to use the freely available resources that are on the Cambridge Assessment website. You don't need to go on a course. Is do them in a timed fashion. Talk to your friends, your teachers about the answers so that you can learn from the experience and so that you can practice those essay questions. We will be using UCAT from 2024 onwards for 2025 entry. As I mentioned, work experience, there are a huge range of different things that you can do. There's no minimum requirement or duration. Some of the pictures there represent some great experience, whether you are in a classroom, whether you come to open day, whether you go into a lab, whether you work in a coffee shop, whether you work in Tesco's. All of that is giving you fantastic experience of being with other people, with experiencing other tasks. And there is also online work experience through Observe GP or the Brighton and Sussex Medical School work experience as well, which are equally as useful and can be talked about at your interview. And the interviews themselves. So I mentioned there are multiple mini interviews. So you go around a selection of stations. You have 5 minutes in each of those stations to talk to an interviewer about some of these topic areas. We tend to suggest to students to look at NHS values. And we're also scoring students based upon all of these different areas. Now, these are what we're looking for in a future doctor. So they won't be things that you're not thinking about at the moment, those values that we're looking for, the leadership, teamwork, problem solving, motivation, communication skills, you're expecting those sorts of things. And those are the things that we will be asking you about, and to give us examples and perhaps use your work experience or your outside experiences to help you answer those questions. So my advice to you is medicine is a brilliant career. It's so satisfying. It really gives you such a fantastic means of helping other people. It's tough. And so you need to be aware of that. You need to be aware of the challenges that are associated with being a student, but also being a doctor as well. But do go for it. If you think that this is what you want to do and you're really interested in it, please go for it. But do some research. Find out about medical schools like you're doing now. Go to Medical Schools Council website. They've got loads of resources for you. Keep up to date. Show your interviewers that you're interested in healthcare, about what's going on. 1 or 2 strikes going on at the moment. And so you might want to reflect with your family about why that is, about your thoughts and views on strike action. Do the timed practice papers. And whilst it is competitive, don't give up. That we have plenty of students who apply during a gap year or after a gap year or after they've done a degree as well. And so there are many, many different routes into medicine. So I wish you all the best of luck. So on that note, I'm going to now move to our question and answer. I can see that our panel have answered a huge number of questions in the inbox already. So thank you very much for that. And so I'm going to come to Bart and Omema first of all. So Omema, can you tell me a little bit, firstly about you, but then also why did you decide to come to UCL Medical School? What drew you in?
Okay, so I'm a second-year medical student. What drew me to UCL? Okay, so for me, it was partly about the location, like the London life. I feel like you got a really good mix of both worlds because UCL is very much a campus. We have the main building, the main quad. Then you also have so many different types of people around you. You meet people from like general day-to-day life all around you in London. So I guess the diversity that drew me. And in addition, I found that the actual course drew me. I quite like the idea of doing an intercalated IBSc, and I really enjoyed all the options that UCL offered. I think an IBSc is so useful and it gives you that time to explore which parts of medicine that you really enjoy that maybe you don't feel is quite explored much in the course. For example, psychology, you can really go into depth about that with your intercalated IBSc. And the third reason that really drew me to UCL was all the teaching hospitals. So for example, we do full body dissections and we have like 3 to 4, I think it's 4 teaching hospitals, which you rotate around first, second year, and then also in your 4th and 5th clinical years. So yeah, definitely all the experiences that you'll be able to gain from UCL specifically due to it being so connected to other universities and so connected to London as a city. That's what drew me.
Amazing, thank you. And Bart, I'm going to come to you next for your what drew you to UCL.
So for me, it's very similar things. I really wanted to move to London. That was always something that I wanted to do. I came from a really small town in Cornwall, which was very, very unlike London. So that's one big thing. And really, I came to an open day in person, and I walked around the campus. I spoke to some students, and I thought, yeah, this is kind of where I want to go. This is where I'll be very happy. And yeah, I've not looked back since.
Amazing. So we do get students from all across the country applying to us. So you may well think that being in London, we get a lot of London students. Yes, we do, but we also get students from all the four corners of the UK and across the world as well. So UCL as a university is very international. So you will certainly meet a lot of students from overseas that are on other courses as well. And so that is a great thing about this university is it's very, very global. Thank you very much. So I can see that there are lots of questions coming in about UCAT and BMAT. So BMAT, as I mentioned, there isn't a cutoff score. So do have a look at the website for the average scores and just make sure that you're using those as an indication only. You won't be able to tell, I won't be able to tell what the score will be that will get you to interview until I see all of the scores at the end of November this year. So it does vary from year to year, and that will be the same for UCAT as well. Of what score we will accept to come to interview will depend upon the scores of the applicants that we see next year. So Umaima, I'm coming back to you to ask you a question about the early years of the course. So can you tell me a little bit more about the timetable and how busy it is in the first year?
Okay, so UCL does kind of throw you in a bit in the first term. However, you do have that induction week where you have like all information about who to go to for specific problems. For example, if it's like an academic problem you have, you know who to go to. If it's like about your own like social and mental well-being, you know who to go to. So there's 4 modules first year. Monday, Tuesday, you've got usually have a good like 3 to 4 lectures maybe. Wednesday, you've got your afternoons free. So that is when we suggest you do like a rum sport or anything or any UCL society really, that is your afternoon. Thursday you have CPP in the morning, which is when you go to a teaching hospital and you have like a small little group and you kind of learn about skills about being a doctor, and just about the more social aspect of medicine. And then in the afternoon of Thursdays, you have your SSC. So that's kind of when you do an extra little, we don't really call it a module, but an extra little thing where you can study. So I did, for example, history of medicine, and I did like a little essay at the end of the year about my chosen aspect of historical medicine. And then Friday you have maybe a couple of lectures. So yeah, it is quite a packed week, but you do have that time for yourself and you do have that time to be able to study and then also be able to review your lectures. So don't be too worried about that.
Fantastic, thank you. So you will find that the timetable for medical students is probably a little bit busier than other bachelor's courses across the university. So there are lectures every day. There are activities and practicals and anatomy sessions that are every day, but you will have half days here and there where you don't have sessions, because actually that's when the rotations happen, and some people will have sessions and others won't. And so there's time for consolidating your learning as well. And we do expect students to do their own self-study. So we recommend at least 10 hours of self-study outside of the timetabled activities. And that is like you would do homework in a way. So you won't get set homework when you come to university, but you will be expected to start managing your time and to think about how do you go through learning the content from the lectures and practical sessions that you've had, and do a bit of preparation for the sessions that you're about to have the following weeks. So Bart, can I come to you about accommodation? I can see that you're answering a question about that already. Could you tell us a little bit more about your halls of residence experience in the first year?
So in my first year, I lived very close to the Bloomsbury campus. I'd say about 5 minutes, maybe less, from Cruciform Building, which is the main medical hub of the university. I lived in officially a small room, but it was quite a big room. So that was very nice. I had all the sort of core things that I needed to have in my room. And then I shared a kitchen with, I think, about 6 other people. I also shared a bathroom, but that was fine. There was never really any issues with that. Halls were really fun. You had a lot of people around, a lot of very different people. So, not just medics, but people doing all sorts of courses. So you really get to meet, all the diversity, everyone around UCL.
Fantastic, thank you. And Umaima, you were in halls of residence as well, weren't you? Whereabouts were you?
So I was at St. Pancras Way, so it was a bit more of a walk, but it was still walking distance. No, my accommodation was really nice because we had like 2 common rooms, and there was lots of social activities there that in a way that you can meet students who also don't do medicine. So yeah, so I think halls of residence are great because it really gives you that widening like opportunity to meet people who don't study the same course as you. Yeah.
Absolutely agree with you. So I was in halls of residence in Camden. And so we have halls of residence that are around London. Most of them are near UCL and within walking distance. There are a few that are a little bit further out. And obviously the cost of that varies as well. But it is a great opportunity to meet other people. But we get a lot of students who commute as well. So a lot of students that are from London and would prefer to remain at home whilst they're at university. I had lots of friends who did that as well. And it does work. And they do have a good social life with other students, just as anyone else would who are in halls of residence. And in fact, when you get into year 2 and beyond, you are commuting, you're living out anyway. And so you will find people to potentially live with from year 2 onwards. Umaima, did you have time to do extracurricular activities alongside the medicine timetable?
Yes, I did. I did Rum's badminton, and I do education for choice, which is like a little volunteering thing. And then I also do target medicine. I'm continuing all 3 of them this year, and I also have time I'm also becoming a transition mentor. So you've got a lot of time to have like experience and like working like within like the medical school, and lots of like hobbies and sports. You do have that time as long as you choose to plan well and you choose like what your priorities are, then you should all be fine, hopefully.
Fabulous, thank you. And that is absolutely right. We would say exactly the same thing. We like well-rounded individuals, and it's so important. Medicine is an intensive career, and we would absolutely strongly advocate for work-life balance. There is plenty of time to experience so many other things when you come to university, and it's an opportunity to try something new. If you've never played tennis before or hockey before, is join the team, because you'll meet lots of other people who've never done it before as well. There is a variety of different societies. There's the Beyonce Society, the Bubble Tea Society, as well as your classics, the sports societies and various societies for international students too. There's pretty much anything you can think of. And if it isn't there, you can start it yourself. And that is brilliant. So it is a fantastic part of being at university. Professor Gishen, I wonder if I might come to you for the next one. There's a few few questions about the early years in relation to the amount of patient contact, and if you could also answer about the size of small group teaching as well.
Certainly. As I said in the introductory section, there is some patient exposure in the early years. So you might see a patient in CPP. They might be a sort of expert patient who's lived with a chronic condition. So you can learn huge amounts from patients, listening to how their lives are impacted by their illness, for example. So you will go out into general practice. You will see patients in CPP from time to time. In terms of the size of small groups, most of our small groups tend to be around 15 people in number. So perhaps you might have 14, 15, or even 16 people in a small group, like a CPP group. So, you know, it's a nice sort of number of people. You can get to know them really well and get to know your tutor well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Faye. So, Bart, can I come to you? Can you work alongside your medical studies?
Yes, so not too much, obviously, but you know, you can do things like this as, you know, ambassador jobs. You can do other things like tutoring. I did a bit of work in my holidays as well, so I had a job in opticians for ages, where, you know, in some holidays when I'm not really doing anything, not studying, I can go back home, I can work for a bit, earn some money, keep that on the side, and then come back, and not have to worry too much when I'm sort of during term time. But there's a lot of options. You know, don't do anything too much. But yeah, you can definitely work a little bit.
Super, thank you very much. So yes, absolutely. And many students do work alongside their studies to earn some money. We appreciate that cost of living at the moment is high for everybody, that rent is high, that halls of residence costs are high, and just general day-to-day living is high. So students do, and you can. Obviously, we recommend that you do that outside of your study so that you're not missing core teaching, and that you're not completely wearing yourself out as a consequence, that you do have some time to do some things to yourself as well. We do have a selection of scholarships and bursaries that are available to students. And we would really encourage you to come and talk to us if you are struggling financially. UCL has its own funding advisors as well, that they are brilliant at helping you to do a bit of a spreadsheet of your income and outgoings, and can give you tips and tricks for things that can help you save money and cost-saving tips. But there are also hardship bursaries that are available for people. But you must come and tell us. We obviously can't pay your entire fees, but we can try and help to meet some of the additional costs that you might have. Great. So I am going to come back to Professor Gishen for the next one. Could you perhaps just give a bit of an overview of the clinical years again and some of the hospitals and placements that students will be doing?
Yes, absolutely. So this is really exciting. It's when you really feel like a future doctor. Bart's just started on the wards and he gave us a flavour of how he's getting on. So in year 4 and in year 5, you are assigned to sort of a home base hospital. So these are our sort of more local partners. So UCLH, the Whittington, the Royal Free, Barnet and North Middlesex. And you'll be assigned to one of those hospitals. Barnet and North Middlesex come as a pair. And you will spend most of your time in year 4 at that base hospital, although there are some times where you will peel off to do activities elsewhere. In year 5, you'll have another sort of home or base hospital, but again, you'll peel off. And in year 5, there are specialties like paediatrics and ophthalmology. So you'll go to hospitals like Great Ormond Street, Moorfields. And then when you get to final year, you're based in primary care and also in general practice, as well as an elective, which people do at home or abroad. So you'll be based at a district general hospital for several weeks in your 6th year. So you'll get a whole breadth of hospitals and primary care practices locally and throughout the UK. It's a very exciting prospect.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. So I'm going to come back to Omoma as well again about some tips for interviews, because you've been through an interview. And so what were your tips for managing your nerves as such as you go through them?
Okay, so my interview, it was with 3 other people, so it was like a panel interview. And my tips when managing your nerves is that just remembering what the interviews actually want from you, and what they want from you is to be yourself. They want you to be able to showcase who you are as a person, your personality, a bit about what you do. They just kind of want to get to know you as the human being, like a well-rounded individual. So my tips is to, if as long as you keep that in mind, I feel like you're quite good in the interview. Just be yourself. And try not to like overperform, or try not to give any rigid or structured answers, as it kind of sounds like you're just like reading off a sheet of paper. So my best advice is to honestly, is, as like cliche as it is, just be yourself and be true to what you do, and like don't lie, because we can tell.
Absolutely. Probity is definitely one of the values that we are looking for in our future doctors. And so definitely don't make things up, but go back to your personal statement again and review what you put in there about what was your motivation, and talk to your family and your friends about why are you applying to medical school. So practice speaking out loud, so you've got some confidence to tell somebody why you want to do it. It's amazing. It seems such an obvious question that we ask people when they come to interview, but it's amazing the different variety of types of answers that we do get from people, and those that are genuine in terms of why they want to study medicine really do come across. And so if you have got a genuine reason and a real motivation, an understanding of a career in medicine, that will definitely come across to us at interview. There are a couple of questions about international students for interview. So we do interview international students separately, again, because obviously you've got a small number of places that we are interviewing you for, and those will be online. So we appreciate that students may well be overseas somewhere, and so we don't want you to have all the cost nor the carbon footprint to be travelling all the way over to the UK. But indeed, you're very welcome to come to one of the in-person offer holder events or open days that happen next year, if that would be helpful in helping your decision to come to UCL. For all home students, the interviews will be in person. They will be held on our Bloomsbury campus, in the Rockefeller building where I am sitting right now, on University Street. And so we will want to meet you, and it's lovely to be able to meet you. That's the interview process. So the other question that I might come back to Professor Gishan about is about the differences between PBL and traditional courses. And I wondered if you could just explain that a little bit for people.
So the acronym PBL is problem-based learning, and I think it's fair to say that there aren't any courses who really are very purely problem-based learning. It's generally a sort of hybrid of all different sorts of pedagogical learning teaching techniques. We don't have a traditional problem-based learning course. We have the course that we laid out for you before. We do use cases to teach about patients. We do have a huge amount of clinical placement and patient contact, but we don't have a traditional PBL course.
Great. So we've got about 6 minutes to go on this particular webinar. We've answered 136 questions so far. Apologies if we haven't quite got to yours yet. Do remember that you can still message the admissions team. There is an online inquiries form that you can send a message to them, and they will answer your question, particularly if you've got a very specific question about your own circumstances or your own entry requirements. Those are quite difficult for us to answer on this webinar in a short space of time. It's better that you get an answer from us directly. And don't forget that you can come to our open day as well. So our open days happen virtually in usually April, May time, but in person in June and July time. So sign up on the UCL website. So you can just put into a search engine UCL Open Day, and you can just sign up to receive the alerts about when that opens to applicants, because you will need to sign up to attend. And we have 10,000 students on campus coming to see us. It is a really buzzing day. It's fabulous. You can come and see the buildings. You can come and meet the people on the programme, can meet people like Bart and Jemima who come and talk to you as well, and try some clinical skills out as well. So it's a really fun day, and it's a great way to come and meet a medical student, because that's probably one of the best things that you can do to prepare for coming to medical school. Fantastic. And I think Emiliana has very kindly put the link in the chat for you there, so you can all sign up to it now to receive that information. So in the last 5 minutes, I am going to come to my 3 panelists and ask for their one top tip for applying to medical school. So Bart, can I come to you first?
So I think my top tip would be perhaps just read as many things as you can, read as many books, newspapers, articles. The BBC News app is great. It's quite, a good level. Just read as much as you can, see what you like. I think work experience is great, but I think by reading a book sometimes, like a biography, you can find out a lot more than you can from just one day. You can find out someone's whole life story, really interesting things. So yeah, just take the opportunity, go to the library, go to school, go to Stones, wherever, just read. Yeah.
Fabulous. Yeah, that's a really good point. That actually read something that interests you. Ask yourself questions when you read something, because again, it's not about what you read or how much you've read. It's very much about how you've reflected upon it. What have you learned from reading that? What questions have been raised as a consequence of that? So there are no specific textbooks or books that we recommend in preparation for your application, but read something enjoyable. Talk to your family about what's on the news, what's current affairs in medicine, and that will help you to feel confident about discussing those issues when you come to interview as well. Jemima, can you tell us your top tip for applying to medical school?
My top tip is reflection. So whatever you do, UCL do not care specifically about the sports you've done or specifically about where you've worked. They care more about what you've taken from that experience. So always reflect, whether that be on a previous BMAT essay, maybe, what can you do better next time from your BMAT? With work experience, what action did you take? What skills have you learned from that? And how will that help you as a medical student, but then also as a doctor? How will that help you socially as a person? And how will that help you not just be a good medical student, but be a good medical student at UCL? So yeah, just reflect as much as you can and talk lots about what you've learned and what you can put forth in your future career, hopefully as doctors.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And coming lastly to Faye, your top tip.
Thank you, Sarah. So very wise words from our students. I would say medicine is a brilliant career, and it's a varied career. You can combine clinical work with education, research. So just believe in yourself. It is a competitive process. It is tough, but be authentic and believe in yourself.
Fabulous. Thank you ever so much to all 3 of you. And thank you all for all of your questions in the question and answer session as well. So many questions there. As I say, if we haven't answered your specific question, please do email in to us and we'd be very happy to answer that. My top tip is very much around the be yourself, is that you already do a lot of things. You already are part of societies and clubs, and you already read things, you already reflect on a day-to-day basis. We don't ask you to do more. We don't ask you to be grade 8 violin or to be captain of the football team. Those give you some skills, but there are lots of other things that will give you those teamwork and leadership skills as well, and the commitment skills that come with perhaps going to lessons for something else. And so please don't feel that you are less good than anyone else, because you are. And what's important is that you tell us exactly why you want to study medicine. That's what we want to see. We want someone that potentially we will be working with in the future, who potentially will be treating us in the future. So I wish you all the best in your application. It is a journey, but you will get there. So keep going. and very best of luck. Thank you very much for joining us today.